Tudor was founded in 1926 by Hans Wilsdorf with the aim of producing high quality watches at more affordable prices than its sister company Rolex. This was to be achieved by pairing Rolex cases and bracelets with third-party movements to keep costs lower. A lot has changed in the nearly 100 years since, but Tudor has maintained its reputation as a more affordable alternative to Rolex. But is it fair to characterise Tudor as the poor man's Rolex, or does the brand deserve respect as a watchmaker in its own right? I should begin by saying that Tudor is not my favourite brand. I guess this is mainly because Tudor has a history of producing dive watches, and dive watches are probably my least favourite style of watch. The Rolex Submariner has had such a profound impact, it has led to a lot of dive watches looking a bit too similar, whereas I like variety and tend to look for something a little bit more unique. In fact, I'll go a step further and say that Tudors are just a bit boring. But then I think that's the point. Tudor isn't trying to break new ground. It takes tried and tested classic designs and adds its own spin with little tweaks here and there. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel, but produce good quality and good value. And over time it has slowly developed its design language and style. That is something that can't be sniffed at in an industry that seems afraid of innovation in design. Tudor also uses its own in-house movements in many of its watches, which commands a level of respect not afforded to rival brands that use off-the-shelf calibers. There are concerns about quality control, but honestly Tudor sells a lot of watches, so naturally you will see more QC issues, and watch enthusiasts are notoriously picky when it comes to QC. Besides, Seiko has pretty shoddy quality control, and yet the company is almost universally beloved. Go figure. I generally think that Tudors are overpriced, but that's true of the luxury watch industry as a whole, and if you want to protect your brand you have to move with the times. In a direct comparison with its competitors, its prices are probably fair. The luxury watch industry is as much about branding and marketing as it is about watchmaking, and Tudor is clearly excelling in that department. Tudor, like Rolex, is a master of marketing and expertly leverages the power of celebrity and social media to build hype and demand. I have never really understood the obsession with the Rolex Submariner, but the sales figures speak for themselves, and it's easy to see why enthusiasts would consider watches like the Black Bay 58 and the Pelagos not only affordable alternatives, but genuine alternatives. Tudor has slowly and surely built its prestige to the point that Tudor is not just a cheaper alternative, but a real alternative to Rolex. It's clear that the powers that be at Rolex have decided to move the brand more upmarket rather than drastically increase production to match demand, which in turn allows Tudor to fill in the gaps. The everyday everyman tool watch buyer is now buying Tudor as Rolex moves further and further out of reach for a lot of people. Of course, the watch snobs cannot fathom how a Tudor could possibly be anything other than an inferior version of Rolex. In their minds, nobody would choose a Tudor over a Rolex for any reason other than cost. I'm sure I would feel a similar level of bitterness if I had just loaded up on tacky jewellery, lady date justs, and massaged the salesman's ego just to get my hands on a sporty Rolex. The Black Bay 58 bronze, for example, is absolutely stunning. The regular Black Bay 58 is just that little bit boring to my eyes, but the bronze takes it to the next level. The combination of brown dial with the 369 Arabic numerals, bronze case, and the bezel with a slight reddish tint is perfection. No offence to the Rolex fanboys, but I would seriously take this watch over any modern Submariner. I think it would make a great centrepiece in my collection. But at nearly £4,000, it is pricey, and it is a boutique exclusive, so it's not easy to get. Yes, Tudor is a poor man's Rolex, but it's also so much more. The Rolex shenanigans of the last few years have really boosted Tudor. It is filling the gaps that Rolex is leaving, and it now has its chance to move out of Rolex's shadow. The key to buying a Tudor, like any watch really, is knowing what you want. If you want a Rolex but you can't afford it, don't buy a Tudor. If you want a Rolex but there is a lack of availability, don't buy a Tudor. But if you like a Tudor on its own merits, buy it, enjoy it, and forget about Rolex. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you enjoy these opinionated videos, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.